Sunday Sun newspaper for a Sunday morning here, 2027. APC PGF presidency intensifies search for Shetima's replacement. Northeast may get Senate President Speaker likely from South. International local pressure mounts on ruling party over same faith ticket. It'll still be tough, says Chieftain. At the very top, AU Summit, Nigeria must lead Africa a new global order, says Wood Teres. I like his name, by the way. VP attends the 39th opening ceremony. Did you want to share your reservations about Guterres and the AU Summit from yesterday? Did you have one? Yes, you did.
I don't even know if it's Guterres generally. I'm just optimistic. I think I had a conversation with Bongani yesterday, who is hopefully she'll join us.
Yeah,
today
hopefully
on the show.
she'll join us as we talk about the AU Summit.
And it was and she said it, and I agreed with it. The fact that we have so many summits. The African Union is supposed to stand for something, and that's clearly the unity of Africa. So hopefully we're optimistic to have a situation where it's not just talk. Eventually, everything that is being discussed and all the plans that are, in quote, discussed and in the talks are actually going to mature and materialize, and it's something that we see. Yes, Guterres is United Nations. I actually think this is his last term, actually. So for him to come in from a United Nations body and make some of the statements that he made, it's commendable. But the reality is that does the African Union have capacity? Are our leaders bold enough to implement many of the things that they say? And honestly, Mazino, it's very questionable. It's very questionable. The unity that African Union is supposed to stand for is not something that we see. And it's unfortunate. I think that's just my takeaway from it. I grew up in Addis Ababa. I think I did tell you at one point. Yes, I did. My mother was at the embassy, but she was with the African Union desk especially. So Mama had a lot of sleepless nights going to the AU, white paper documents and stuff that they had to put together because of the fact that they wanted the African Union to thrive and do what it was supposed to do. And sometimes it's a bit unfortunate to look at it and you're like, we've seen people sweat, and labor for the African Union to be what it is. And for the mere fact that it's actually not there yet, and it's actually deteriorating instead of maturing, is a bit sad as an African, honestly. It's a bit sad. It's a bit sad.
You know what I think the problem is? It's civilization. It's diplomacy. I say this because when you look at the Western nations, the UN and all, and of course America's actions, pulling out of all these bodies, you begin to think that diplomacy might be the time waster. Oops. Diplomacy might be the time waster here.
Honestly.
Maybe we should just unplug diplomacy and get to work.
Thank you very
Action
much.
is what we do not have.
For the first time, I actually commended Vice President Kashim Shettima when he was given the floor at the African Union, and he made a statement and said, in terms of health, by now, Africa should be at a point where, yes, our health systems are failing. Let's not even talk to the Nigerian health system, But for him to be open about the fact that it's failing, and as Africans, we need to do something to make sure that these systems fail, because you cannot tell me that an entire continent was depending and a dependent
on aid. Yeah.
The entire continent? Come on.
Very sad. Very real, true realities here, Inam. Thank you very much. And your mother comes in useful when we have these conversations. We should have her on the show one time.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So still Sunday Telegraph front page, 2027 polls will consult over Ramadan overlap. Say INEC, apparently the holidays are overlapping over the days that have been chosen for the elections. Insecurity, terrorists kill 26 in renewed Borgu attacks. Afenifere expresses concern over Southwest status. And Tinubu return of Arugungu Festival means peace. Patutomi interview, Nigeria would have been different if Ekweme Falae won in 1999, says today's problem started with Obasanjo's presidency, accuses APC of deliberate division since 2015, declares Buhari era disastrous, why FG can't publish names of terror financiers. That I would like to read on page 3, 14, and 19 of the Sunday Telegraph.
Let's go now to the Sunday Punch. Up at the top there, how 36 Nigerian youths ended up in Russia-Ukraine war. This one is on page 4, and Mazino, it gets to me. It gets to me because oddly and interestingly enough, as the story begins to unfold, you begin to understand that African youth, African children were recruited to go and fight a war that had absolutely nothing to do with them.
Were they recruited or were they... Most of them didn't know exactly what they were going to do. 2 were reported killed yesterday.
Look
2
at that.
soldiers were reported killed by Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities actually identified them as Nigerian, Russian soldiers. Nigerians fighting for Russia.
Yes.
And it's all just out of desperation. I'm
Poverty.
fighting a war here in Nigeria.
Poverty, the money, because they were promised good money.
Taxes.
Do you
Taxes.
get me?
I'm running away from taxes.
And like I said, as the story begins to unfold, you understand that it wasn't just necessarily Nigerians. If you remember our former president, Jacob Zuma, his daughter.
Your former president.
He's yours too. His daughter was on trial for that.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yes, there were allegations that she was with a ring,
Yes.
a ring that conspired to
recruit
South Africans for Russian
Yes.
army.
And then last week as well, Kenya. Kenya also uncovered that the same thing was done to some of the Kenyan, children. And I say children because youth is still young. But at the end of the day, it goes back to what you just said. When trying times are extremely hard, what's the best that I can do? At least let me go and fight. Let me go to war. I may survive. I may not. If I survive,
I may be able to provide
money.
for the people back home.
Yes, but that also gets us to understand that sometimes you sit and you ask yourself a question to say, is this a needless war? Because if you don't have enough manpower within your countries to fight it, it's a needless war for you to go and recruit people from outside to come and fight for you.
This is under, the way they're recruited is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very simple word, but I can't remember it. They lied to these people recruited.
False pretenses.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. She's so smart. Under false pretenses, because from one detail from last year, women were being recruited to work at industries where they make drones. So some of these people simply think that they're going to go work at industries and only to be told, hey, our capacity is full. You join the infantry. That's what happens.
See, that's a story for that narrative is a topic that we need to discuss one other day as well. Because unfortunately, all these false narrative and false pretenses happen in Africa. It's in Africa that, oh, by the way, we said you're going to go and be this, and then once you get there, it's, oh, unfortunately.
So are we gullible?
We're very gullible. We're very gullible. And it's not even that Japa syndrome. It's just the gullibility of the fact that we have been sold a dream that says life is better on the other side. You know that saying the grass is actually not that greener on the other side? We've been sold that narrative.
Yeah.
Because of how our systems are
I mean,
failing here.
look at you. They sold you that for Nigeria, and here you are working on New Central. What else do you have?
I mean, all right, let's go back to the punch.
It was too good. I had to use it.
And then right next there, it says U.S. military aircraft drops ammo in Borno. That's on page 4. I want to get into Donald Trump this morning. Let me behave myself.
Oh, please, why not?
Let me
I
behave
get to
myself.
do my impression.
Your Donald Trump impression?
Yeah.
Can we hear it?
Bigly.
Right next to the punch, it says leadership is about creating impact and value. That's the NADG Odukale. I can't really see that, but yeah. Newspaper of the year, the daily punches, Sunday punches. And then it goes, Rabiu's bugged phone. Mazino, you touched on that a bit.
Yeah.
El Rufai under fire as probe calls rise. And then in blue there, it says oppositions predict implosion as APC set for convention. This is an interesting one, the convention that was debatable in our conversation last week, you remember? And the Nigeria bandits kill scores and burn houses. And then at 70, I won't stop joining protest for good governance. And this is Pat Utomi. I second that. Presidential aid demand prosecution. Right next to it, it says national security in grave danger as intelligence chief. And then legal experts cites constitutional breach. And then at the bottom right there, it says wasting away inside the struggle of Nigeria's jobless first-class graduate. And then, of course, help. Mortuary sold my wife's body few weeks to burial. Oh, wow. That's a Rivers man on page 27. And then right at the bottom there, it says Kwara fumes after terrorists parade over 170 abductees. They
are doing parades now. Show and tell, or grab and tell. This is very unfortunate. About Rabiu's tapped phone, Nuhu Ribaudu's tapped phone, it was for me the blatant nature with which it was said and the way it was shrugged off when it was called illegal. If you saw the interview, you'd understand. It was just so alarming. Let's move to the Sunday Independent now, shall we? Sunday Independent has this headline here, front and center, how APC is reshaping Nigeria's political landscape ahead of 2027. Not too much on the Sunday Independent. Another page here says 27, PDP playing out the end game. Wike co-travelers engineered to weaken party. And Turaki-led NWC say. And we're trying to save PDP from marketers, says Wike Group. I love the PDP. It's filled with drama. And of course, the main character, Wike. Stakeholders laud sustained agitation for 2027 election transparency. Eastern Union backs calls for real-time e-transmission of poll results. And somewhere in the middle there, suspected terrorists renew onslaught in Niger communities. That's all for the Sunday Independent front page.
We can move to the Sunday Tribune as well. Sunday Tribune at the top there says, increasing terror attacks in Niger, Kwara, Ondo, Kogi, worry Afenifere.
Yeah.
And then it says, ask Southwest Edo other governments to buckle up. And then right next to it on page 13, it says, we are businessmen, not terrorists. Mieti Allah leader cries out. It's become a business transaction and endeavor to boycott and burn regions. That's a very interesting narrative, if you ask me. And then right underneath there, the headline, it says, mixed reactions over 2027 election timetable. I'm very indifferent about this, Mazino.
Tell me.
I'm very, very indifferent about it. And I mean, it's not necessarily... I don't know. I'm very indifferent about the fact that we've slated elections to a certain period and then they have to be shifted because of the fact that I think, like they said, it's Ramadan. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about that. But I know that it's, I think, who was it? It was Atiku that said it makes more sense for the election date to be shifted because you want to make sure that you have enough people that are interested in voting.
Yeah.
So if the election is going to fall during the Ramadan period, because of what it means to the Islam community, people aren't necessarily going to be interested to go out and vote. So change the dates up until they finish observing Ramadan, and then we can go back to the elections.
I can fix that for you.
Tell me.
Let's slate elections for December 25th.
So you see, that's the problem.
Why is it a problem now?
Because that's Christmas Day.
And
Christians are not going to want to adhere to that.
so does that cure your indifference?
I mean, it does to a certain degree, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I thought about it. I sat and I thought about it for a while, and I'm just like...
Yeah, I think convenience is also part of the preparation, part of the construct, the architecture for elections. If it's conducive for everybody, you have more people out there.
I get you.
If I have to be celebrating and wake up lazy the next day after all my feasting the day before, I'm not going to want to. That's the point. So, you know, there was something I was going to touch on that front page before we go on our quick break, before we lead into other conversations. And I wanted to do that real quick. Increased terror attacks in Niger, Kwara, Ondo, Kogi, Warrior, Afenifere. What was I thinking about that? I can't remember. But it was supposed to be on the focus on security from the international community. And I'm thinking that we're seeing so much of this, apart from increased press reportage on the insecurity of Nigeria, but I think that they are taking advantage of the narrative that the Western world is pushing forward. Now, Mieti Allah being given a visa ban, any members of Mieti Allah actually is, when you hear it as a South African, what do you think? What does it sound like? It sounds like an ISWAP community.
Yeah.
Well, let me surprise you. What it is it's cattle herders. It's an association of cattle herders. So
I know Allah means God. What does the Mieti mean? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
We have to do our research.
It's a cattle herders association. Now, the interesting bit here is if the fight for Nigeria, if the aid we're getting from the U.S. is against Christian genocide, then cattle herders shouldn't be a target.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But here we have, and it questions the narrative that they're pushing forward. If you're preaching Christian genocide and you're excommunicating or you are banning herders, cattle herder association members from coming into your country, doesn't that say something?
There's a contradiction
something
somewhere
wrong
there.
with
Yeah, there is a contradiction there.
Yeah, the contradiction. Those are all the headlines that we have for this morning from the Sunday papers. Thank you very much for staying with us. We're going to proceed now into conversation, but let's take a quick break first, and we will be back with more conversation. Stay with us.